And everybody's high. Hello there, everybody. Yeah, sending you Colorado high. So, welcome everyone. So good to see you. Loved John Denver. I was out in California when he unfortunately passed way too soon, and well, there you go. And so love the song, and check it out, man. Listen to it again. That's what I got to say. I think I got all the buttons are all there. So favor to us all. Favor means that we are empowered to prosper. And if you're empowered to prosper, prosper means everything: mind, body, spirit, finances, everything. So nothing missing, nothing broken. That's where that comes. And actually, what nothing missing, nothing broken actually comes from is shalom. Bet y'all didn't know that, did you? Well, now you do. And so when you hear someone say shalom, what they're saying is that there is not, may there be nothing missing, nothing broken in your life. And it's a beautiful greeting. And it's a beautiful party. So there we go. So welcome, everybody. I love John Denver. That is such a fantastic song. Anyway, I digress. Heading down a country road. That is the thing. So BOSTO to one and all. And if you have a birthday or anniversary, then happy birthday, Hannah. Happy anniversary. My wife and I will be celebrating our 10th year anniversary tomorrow. Would like to go back to Hawaii. That's where we got married, right there off the Kona coast. So, yeah. So welcome, everyone. Hello, Cheryl. Dar, good to see you. Isby, what's up? Christy, Marsha, good to see you. Julie, Regina, good to see you. David Castle, much love. Hello, Nina, good to see you. Nina has her show, Hump Day show today. What else? Beloved Abstract. Sip back right at you, girl. Joyce, good to see you. Hey, Gary. Shalom to you, my brother, in Namaste. Yes, absolutely. So yeah, I love that. And it's such a fulfilling phrase. It's really, if you say that to someone, it's really because you really like people, you care for them. Nothing missing, nothing broken. Hey, Miss Trina, thank you, hon. Was that a great show yesterday? I got to tell you what, there was that spirit of heaviness upon me, just dealing with a lot of things, and I have to say it lifted, and I haven't seen it again. Hey, I the Maelstrom, good to see you. Much love to you. Hello, Francis, good to see you, my brother. I read your email, and man, I'm right there with you. Tune in tomorrow night. That's what I have to say. Lucky. Tune in tomorrow night. Living above. I love that. That's what I say to myself in the mirror. Lynn and I speak favor over each other all the time. But when I look into the mirror, I like to say, Steiger, you always come out ahead. You are always above, and you always come out on top. Great favor surrounds me, goes before me, and walks beside me. You tell your stuff, that stuff in the mirror, that's stepping on the cockroach, and it's metaphoric, although you have to admit the sound, everyone knows. And that's what we're going to be talking about today, because, when you're oppressed, it sucks. And the thing about it is, oppression is, well, it's a part of a three-step process. You see, the first thing is that a spirit, or even an individual, could be a spiritual vampire. I mean, we can get really into this. The presence by what I call oppression. It's oppressing you. It's not allowing you your full range of energy. You are restricted. That's the first step of possession. The second step to full possession is depression. So if a energy force can oppress you, and then it begins to depress you, it will eventually possess you. And give recognition to Lester Summerall on that. For those of you who may know who Lester Summerall is, yeah, he was a great teacher. He knew a lot about the spirit realm. And although I think as I look back, I still have his books, I still have his teachings on VHS. Yeah, I still got a VHS player. Yeah, it's interesting because when you learn, and again, to finish that thought out, is that Lester had, I think, a one-sided view, or let me just say it was heavily skewed to one side. And again, if you always seek to silence the opposition, the opposing side, the opposing voice, you've really not done anything. You really haven't gained that much because it's one-sided. It's unbalanced. That's why the cult is, I think, should be every person's lifelong pursuit. You know, I was thinking earlier, I read the Bible for 13,280 plus days. Now do the math. And and imagine if I had taken that time and had pursued the other pursuits that I think that I was destined. Destiny has put me here. Sometimes destiny can be, how should we say, sidetracked, but eventually I think if fate has its way, destiny will have its play. Hey, I love that today. Man, that's a rhyme all the time, right on the dime. There you go, all the time. That's all I can say. It's just, it's the truth. That's all I got to say. So, yeah. But imagine if I had spent, as I look back now, my view of the other side was truly, I was radicalized. I only saw the possibility of one point of view. And boy, you know what? That's like you going into school for the, like you move into a new neighborhood. And so school's already been in for months. So everyone's gotten their friends and their cliques and their groups. But here you come and it's first period. And you walk in, you don't know anybody. And as you walk in that door, if you've gone through that, most of us have, you know that feeling. Everyone's staring at you and everyone's making snap judgments. Boom, 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 boom. If you have 25 in your class, 25 snap judgments, plus the teacher. Yeah. And that's how I think most people approach the occult. They have primarily a skewed view of one particular perception. And unfortunately, it's very bigoted and if not just freaking racist. And yes, you can have spiritual racism. It's a fact. So how about that? So what else is going on in the old chat room? It's spinning up there. Welcome, everyone. Thank you for coming in. I know folks are still wherever they are. We're glad if they come in. So let's see. I feel the same way growing up. Yeah, Crystal. Yeah, we know. You know, it's true. It sucks, but you know, it's true. And again, it's these cockroaches, you know, someone said, I think it was Deborah Truex said, well, you know, don't step on a cockroach because you'll carry its eggs. But isn't that interesting if we carry that over to our metaphor and derive from that is that these negative thought forms, it's amazing how they lay their eggs because they do. In a sense, kind of gross. Now that's just funny. I love it. And why not? That's exactly what I have to say. And why not? Oh man, got blue cheese and crackers. You know, if there is, and Lynn and I are cheese connoisseurs. I mean, you know, yeah, love cheese and blue cheese. Oh yes, yes, yes. Um, there was a restaurant in Las Vegas called oh, I just had it. It's at the Four Queens, and I'll get the name, the cellar. It has a name before that. But anyway, it used to be the hangout where the Rat Pack used to, and they hadn't changed the motif. And I have to say that their blue cheese, they would literally bring it out, you know, on that big old wheel, that wedge. Oh man. Anyway, thank you for the distraction on that. uh, you know, now it's like, geez. And we have salads pretty regularly here, and oddly enough, that's what we really garnish it with is the blue cheese. But hello, Teresa. What's up, girl? Favor unto you. Hey, Monkey Experiment. Hey, Big Al. Good to see you. Mossy Man. Send healing frequencies for my constant head pressure. Well, okay. We've done it. And those who will listen to the replay just did it. So we're doing pretty good. Anyway, boy, it's just a kind of just a fun day. You know, it's Jules 111 thumbs. Thank you. Thank y'all very much. Thank you very much. There we go. Making me hungry. Yes, S Coop. I am all over that. I mean, seriously, don't you miss the buffets? They had the what was that one that they had? It was like the largest salad bar, and you know, I think you could gain more weight going through the salad bar than you actually could go through a regular buffet. But you know, miss those days. Loved, you know, back in the day in Vegas, and I'm talking this is in the 80s, and before, you know, all the resorts blew up. But the thing that Vegas was really known for was the buffets. And I went to some of them, and just a fabulous adventure. And yeah, it's I enjoy buffets, you know. Talking about food, and geez, you know, it's like, all right, everyone, I've had a great time. See you later. I'm out of here. Hello, Guy and Paul. How you doing? Is Martin Heidi here as well? Hey, Jules, what's up, Eric? What is that? Is that Cartier Fitness? Okay. There we go. Sometimes I have to catch it. It goes by quick. Elderberry, what's happening? Yeah, see, the smile knows. Our smile, yeah. It makes me salivate. I mean, and the one I really liked was at the Venetian. The Venetian had a great buffet. Their dessert section, I mean, you know, you could just spend all your time in the dessert section. But yeah, and remember, you know, when it was really prime rib, you know, that was right there on the skew. Oh man. Woof, all right, that's enough of this stuff. The Aladdin, that was a good place. I won a nice jackpot in there at one time. So, oh man, I'm really, you see, that's magic. David Barry he made the comment last week, and it's true. You see, magic, we practice it all the time. People just don't see it. And music is magic. It literally will change your spirit into, you know, floating high, or if you are like singing the blues, it'll bring you low. But that's magic, folks. And you know, if you can transfer that over to your command, wow, just think about this. So, did you, Dart? Where'd you work at? Nostalgia. Yeah. Ain't it fun? I mean, you know, that's what it's all about. You know, I told someone this weekend that if you really look at this logically and with sound, cognitive, rational thought, We're already, as we've talked about here many times, the Walking Dead. Each and every one of us are already dead. You've already had your funeral. In my case, Lynn and I are going to be cremated. But you know what? The ashes have either been scattered or, your meat suit's been buried, one of the two. Because that's the future. That is every one of ours future. No escaping it. It is absolute reality. And you tell me that this is the place of the living? I don't think so. So, well, this has been fun. Like 15 minutes of just, feeding off the audience. I love it. Let's see. Now I haven't caught up with the chat room, so I have no idea what's being spoken about. So, how do we get rid of some of these cockroaches? Sometimes it's good to go back and always touch base with the basics. I had a business associate who was a Top Gun pilot, and Jim was loved the guy. He's tough as nails, man. I mean, tough as nails. And what I learned from Jim was that every pilot has to each day, no matter what their experience, no matter how many hours they've logged, etc., they always have to go back to the basics. You have to go to the basics and check it off before you can now advance to where you are. And it got me to thinking these lessons in lives that I have learned from mentors, friends, business associates that were people of high caliber. They had integrity. They had character. They respected honor, loyalty. These are traits that unfortunately are not talked about today, and they should be. So what would you guess, everyone, that we would need to go back and make sure that as we sit in the pilot seat, that we go back and check off as our checkoff list, going back to basics? Hey, Jenny, much love to you, dear. Going to have you on here. Just going to get Nina on as well. We got going to be sending out, found out that Sarah, and I'm going to make Sarah Soderlund, going to be getting her on. And I found out that I think it's, I'm going to have to find out who the other one. There's one other. But I looked at this and I said, what we're really missing here is kind of the 7 principles. These are the 7 laws. This is every religion. This is every theology. This is every ideology. They're all based on these 7 principles. And what are they? The principle of mentalism, the principle of correspondence, the principle of vibration, the principle of polarity, the principle of rhythm, the principle of cause and effect, and the principle of gender. So what am I talking about? Well, for those of you who may not have been around then, we're talking about one of the best books you should have in your library, and you should own it. I've got mine, got several copies, The Kabbalion. If you truly are wanting to practice magic, I dare say that this would be, and whether you want to develop your faith, however, this will help. It's good to refresh us, because I went back and I looked at it and I said, you know what? The tribe needs to hear this. So let's get into this. The principles of truth are 7. He who knows these understandingly possesses the magic key, before whose touch all the doors of the temple will fly open. Boom. Mic drop. Said enough. Figure it out, right? All right, let's get into this. Because it is mentalism. The first principle, mentalism. The all is mind. The universe is mental. That's the Kabbalion. It explains it. This principle embodies the truth that all is mind. It explains that the all, which is the substantial reality underlying all the outward manifestations and appearances, which we know under the term of the material universe, or what we would call the phenomena of life, matter, energy, and in short, all that is apparent to our material senses. I mean, there it is. That's reality. That's how you define it. That's what it is. So the material universe is spirit, which in itself is unknowable and undefinable, but which may be considered and thought of as an universe, infinite, living mind. It also explains that all the phenomenal world or universe is simply a mental creation of the all, subject to the laws of created things, and that the universe as a whole and in its parts or units has its existence in the mind of the all, in which mind we live and move and have our being. By the way, those of you who have a Christian background, now you know where they got this from. Who wrote that? Paul did. This principle, by establishing the mental nature of the universe, easily explains all of the varied mental and psychic phenomena that occupy such a large portion of the public attention. And which, without such explanation, are non-understandable and defy scientific treatment. An understanding of this great Hermetic principle of mentalism enables the individual to readily grasp the laws of the mental universe and to apply the same to his well-being and advancement. The Hermetic student is enabled to apply intelligently the great mental laws instead of using them in a haphazard manner. With the master key in his possession, the student may unlock the many doors of the mental and psychic temple of knowledge and enter the same freely and intelligently. This principle explains the true nature of energy, power, and matter, and why and how all these are subordinated to the mastery of mind. Joyce Myers, when I knew her in her early days before she was ever who she was, she wrote one of her first bestsellers is that the battlefield is the mind, and it's true. One of the old Hermetic masters wrote long ago, ages ago, he who grasps the truth of the mental nature of the universe is well advanced on the path to mastery. Wow. I mean, that just gives me chills. He who grasps the truth of the mental nature of the universe is well advanced on the path to mastery. How many of us in this tribe, this group, this family, how many of us are masters already? We're a pretty advanced group here. Not that we know everything, and there's many other, avenues as you look at each one of these modalities. And these words are as true today as at the time they were first written. Without this master key, mastery is impossible, and the student knocks in vain at the many doors of the temple. Boom. Wow. You see, these are weapons. These are tools in our trade, in our arsenal. And that one key alone that we just learned is the master key. Sip. The principle of correspondence. As above, so below, as below, so above. The Kabbalion. This principle embodies the truth that there is always a correspondence between the laws and phenomena of the various planes of being and life. You see, many of us are out there all the time. And we never go out, we don't have to travel in out-of-body experiences. Our minds, our spirits are of the mind. Our spirit, you could say, possesses consciousness. It probably is, in fact, consciousness. Let's continue. But my point is, that's why for me to speak to the spirits, to the dead, why is that a big deal? Are we all not technically dead already? So I'm just talking to my kinfolk. I continue. And the grasping of this principle gives one the means of solving many a dark paradox, the hidden secret of nature. There are planes beyond our knowing. But when we apply the principle of correspondence to them, we are able to understand much that would otherwise be unknowable to us. This principle is of universal application and manifestation on the various planes of the material, mental, and spiritual universe. Let's just stop right there. So within this knowledge goes back to Thoth, emerald tablets. I mean, we're talking ancient knowledge. So here we know that there are three universes, distinct universes, that somehow or another, as we learned in the time travel, what the first dimension was. We learned what the second dimension was. This is where this applies perfectly. It is a universal law. The ancient Hermeticists considered this principle as one of the most important mental instruments by which man was able to pry aside the obstacles which hid from view the unknown. Don't be afraid of the unknown. Knock 3 times. Its use even tore aside the veil of Isis to the extent that a glimpse of the face of the goddess might be caught. Just as knowledge of the principles of geometry, enables man to measure distant suns and their movements while seated in his observatory, so a knowledge of the principle of correspondence enables man to reason intelligently from the known to the unknown. Studying the monad, he understands the archangel. I love this, folks. The synchronicity. I'm telling you, we're guided by, I think that there is a high-ranking spirit guide that kind of is like directing all of our spirit guides, saying, yeah, you guys are getting it. 3, and I want to say to the person who wrote me about starting off in Magick, this is what I recommend, and this is why. Now you know what the email is about. The principle of vibration. Nothing rests. Everything moves. Everything vibrates. The Kabbalion. This principle embodies the truth that everything is in motion. Everything vibrates. Nothing is at rest. Facts which modern science endorses and which each new scientific discovery tends to verify. And yet this Hermetic principle was emanциpated thousands of years ago by the master of ancient Egypt. This principle explains that the difference between different manifestations of matter, energy, mind, and even spirit result largely from varying rates of vibration. Okay. For those who are seeking wealth, you have to understand you can vibrate a frequency and energy that repulses wealth. Get into that later, but think about it. From the all, which is pure spirit, down to the grossest form of matter, all is in vibration. The higher the vibration, the higher the position in the scales. The vibration of spirit is at such an infinite rate of intensity and rapidity that it is practically at rest. Just as rapidly moving will seems to be motionless. And at the other end of the scale, there are gross forms of matter whose vibrations are so low as it seems to be at rest. Between these poles, there are millions upon millions of varying degrees of vibration, from corpuscle to electron, atom, molecule, to worlds and universes. Everything is in a vibratorial motion. This is also true on the planes of energy and force, which are but varying degrees of vibration, and also on the mental planes, whose states depend upon vibrations, and even on the spiritual planes. An understanding of this principle with the appropriate formulas enables Hermetic students to control their own mental vibrations as well as those of others. The masters also apply this principle to conquering the natural phenomenon in various ways. He who understands the principle of vibration has grasped the scepter of power. Wow, I love that, says one of the old writers. Is this not cool? I'm telling you, it is such cool. It's great to reread this, refresh it in my mind. And because, once again, it's the words have power. Words have vibration. Words carry force. And these are edifying words. You lift me up. Yeah. Debbie Boone. She's quite a nice person, she really is. Anyway, the principle of polarity. Everything is dual. Everything has poles. Everything has its pair of opposites. Like and unlike are the same. Opposites are identical in nature. Well, I mean, we could just talk about this right here. So all of those who struggle with the occult thinking it's evil, this is what my spirit guide was lecturing me last night on. If you believe in the duality of God, God is Lucifer. Lucifer is God. Allah is Lucifer. Lucifer is Allah. I mean, the point is, you can't be separated. No God is. At least not in this realm. It continues, says, but different in degrees. Extremes meet. All truths are but half-truths. All paradoxes may be reconciled. The Kabbalion. This principle embodies the truth that everything is dual. Everything has two poles. Everything has its pair of opposites, all of which were old Hermetic axioms. It explains the old paradoxes that have perplexed so many, which have been stated as follows. Thesis and antithesis are identical in nature, but different in degree. Opposites are the same, differing only in degree. The pairs of opposites may be reconciled. Extremes meet. Everything is and isn't at the same time. All truths are but half-truths. Every truth is half false. There are two sides to everything, etc., etc., etc. It explains that in everything there are two poles or opposite aspects, and that opposites are really only the two extremes of the same thing, which many varying degrees between them. To illustrate, heat and cold, although opposites, are really the same thing, the difference consisting merely of degrees of the same thing. Look at your thermometer and see if you can discover where heat terminates and cold begins. There is no such thing as absolute heat or absolute cold. The two terms, heat and cold, simply indicate varying degrees of the same thing. And that same thing, which manifests as that heat and cold, is merely a form, variety, and rate of vibration. So heat and cold are simply the two poles of that which we call heat. And the phenomenon attendant thereupon are manifestations of the principle of polarity. The same principle manifests in the case of light and darkness, which are the same thing. The difference consisting of varying degrees between two poles of the phenomenon. Where does darkness leave off and the light begin? What is the difference between large and small, between hard and soft, between black and white, between sharp and dull, between noise and quiet, between high and low, between positive and negative? The principle of polarity explains these paradoxes, and no other principle can supersede it. The same principle operates on the mental plane. Let us take a radical and extreme example, that of love and hate. We were just talking about this yesterday, weren't we? Two mental states, apparently totally different. And yet, there are degrees of hate and degrees of love, and a middle point in which we use the term like or dislike, which shade into each other so gradually that sometimes we are at a loss to know whether we like or dislike or neither. And all are simply degrees of the same thing, as you will see if you will but think a moment. Then more than this, and considered of more importance by the Hermeticists, it is possible to change the vibration of hate to the vibrations of love in one's own mind and in the minds of others. Many of you who read these lines have had personal experiences in the involuntary rapid transition from love to hate, and the reverse. In your own case and that of others, you will therefore realize the possibility of this being accomplished by the use of the will, by means of the Hermetic formulas. Good and evil are but the poles of the same thing. And the Hermeticist understands the art of transmuting evil to good. I've said to you this for how many years, folks? When you get bad news, when something there, if you learn to internalize it, and this is a discipline none of us, as far as I can see, are complete masters of this. We all must practice. It's like going to the gym. Understands the art of transmuting good into evil by means of an application of the principle of polarity. In short, the art of polarization becomes a phase of mental alchemy, known and practiced by the ancient and modern Hermetic masters. An understanding of the principle will enable one to change their own polarity, as well as that of others, if he will devote the time and study necessary to master the art. 5. The principle of rhythm. Everything flows out and in. Everything has its tides. All things rise and fall. The pendulum swings manifest in everything. The measure of swing to the right is the measure of the swing to the left. Rhythm compensates. The Kabbalion. This principle embodies the truth that in everything everything is manifested a measured motion to and fro, a flow and inflow, a swing backward and forward, a pendulum-like movement, a tide-like ebb and flow, a high tide and low tide. Between the two poles, which exist in accordance with the principle of polarity described a moment ago, there is always an action and a reaction, an advance and a retreat, a rising and a sinking. This is in the affairs of the universe: suns, worlds, men, animals, mind, energy, and matter. This law is manifested in the creation and destruction of worlds, in the rise and fall of nations, in the life of all things, and finally, in the mental states of man. And it is with this latter that the Hermeticists find the understanding of the principle most important. The Hermeticists have grasped this principle, finding its universal application, and have also discovered certain means to overcome its effect in themselves by the use of the appropriate formulas and methods. They apply to the mental law of naturalization. They cannot annul the principle or cause it to cease its operation, but they have learned how to escape its effect upon themselves to a certain degree, depending upon the mastery of the principle. They have learned how to use it instead of being used by it. In this, the similar methods consist the art of the Hermeticist. The master of Hermetics polarizes himself at the point at which he desires to rest, and then neutralizes the rhythmic swing of the pendulum, which would tend to carry him to the other pole. All individuals who have obtained any degree of self-mastery do this to a certain degree, more or less unconsciously, but the master does it consciously, and by use of his will, and attains a degree of poise and mental firmness almost impossible of belief on the part of the masses who are swung backwards and forwards like a pendulum. This principle and that of polarity have been closely studied by the Hermeticist, and the methods of counteracting, neutralizing, and using them from an important part of the Hermetic mental alchemy. Oh, folks, wow. I don't know about you, but this is good stuff. We all needed to hear this. Cheers, everyone. The principle of cause and effect. Every cause has its effect. Every effect has its cause. Everything happens according to law. Chance is but a name for law not recognized. There are many planes of causation, but nothing escapes the law, the Kabbalion. This principle embodies the fact that there is a cause for every effect and an effect from every cause. It explains that everything happens according to law, that nothing ever merely happens, that there is no such thing as chance, that while there are various planes of cause and effect, the higher dominating the lower planes, still nothing ever entirely escapes the law. The Hermeticist understands the art and methods of rising above the ordinary plane of cause and effect to a certain degree, and by mentally rising to a higher plane, they become causers instead of effects. That's critical. How many of us are causers? I think I would rather be the causer than the effector, right? I don't know. The masses of people are carried along, obedient to environment, the wills and desires of others stronger than themselves, heredity, suggestion, and other outward causes moving them about like pawns on the chessboard of life. But the masters, rising to the plane above, dominate their moods, characters, qualities, and powers, as well as the environment surrounding them, and become movers instead of pawns. They help to play the game of life instead of being played and moved about by other wills and environments. They use the principle instead of being its tool. The masters obey the causation of the higher planes, but they help to rule on their own plane. Wow. We need this, man. Woo. In this statement, there is condensed a wealth of Hermetic knowledge. Let him read who can. This is important to all of us. I mean, how many of us, and I look back and some of the things that I've been going through on the energies, it's like, oh, no, wait a minute. No. I don't have to take this. I'm mad as hell and I'm not going to take this anymore. By the way, I just want to say this to those of you who've listened to the Steiger perspective. Remember when I started bringing this out about a month ago? Well, guess who quoted me word for word? Brett Bart. Couldn't get over it. And I want to say a big high five to all you folks in New Jersey. You guys got it. They actually had signs. Yeah. All right. I digress. So that's being a master. I love this. The Hermeticist understands the art and methods of rising above the ordinary plane of cause and effect to a certain degree, and by mentally rising to a higher plane, they become causers instead of effects. Number one, the masses of people are carried along, obedient to environment. That's they do what the government and authorities say, they're sheeple. The wills and desires of others stronger than themselves. Yeah. This has something to do with hereditary, moving, suggestion, and other outward causes moving them about like pawns on the chessboard of life. We were talking about this yesterday. But the masters, rising to the plane above, dominate their moods, characters, qualities, and powers, as well as the environment surrounding them, and become movers instead of pawns. Wow. Wow. Come on, folks. We need to be movers. I don't like being pawns. They're always sacrificed, Anyway, as well as the environment surrounding them. That's key. And become the movers. They help to play the game of life. What makes you wonder what then other people are? Because if we become movers, we're actually in the game. We're actually moving the pieces instead of being played and moved about by other wills and environments. They use the principle instead of being its tool. The master obeys the causation of the higher planes, but they help to rule on their own plane. Wow. In this statement, there is condensed a wealth of Hermetic knowledge. Let him read who can. Finally, the last one, the principle of gender. Gender is in everything. Everything has its masculine and feminine principles. Gender manifests on all planes, the Kabbalion. This principle embodies the truth that there is gender manifested in everything, the masculine and the feminine principles ever at work. This is true not only of the physical plane, but of the mental and even the spiritual planes. On the physical plane, the principle manifests as sex. On the higher planes, it takes on higher forms. But the principle is ever the same. No creation, physical, mental, or spiritual, is possible without this principle. An understanding of its laws will throw light on many a subject that has perplexed the minds of men. The principles of gender work ever in the direction of generation, regeneration, and creation. Did you get that? The principle of gender works ever in the direction of generation, regeneration, and creation. Everything and every person contains the two elements or principles, or this great principle within. Within it, him or her. Every male thing has the female element also. Every female contains also the male principle. If you would understand the philosophy of mental and spiritual creation, generation, and regeneration, you must understand and study this Hermetic principle. It contains the solution of many mysteries of life. We caution you that this principle has no reference to the many base, pernicious, and degrading lustful theories, teachings, and practices, which are taught under fanciful titles and which are prostitution of the great natural principle of gender. Such base revivals of the ancient infamous forms of filiism tends to ruin mind, body, and soul. And the Hermetic philosophy has ever sounded the warning note against these degraded teachings, which tend towards lust, lasciviousness, the perversion of nature's principles. If you break such teachings, you must go elsewhere for them. Hermeticism contains nothing for you along these lines. To the pure, all things are pure. To the base, all things are base. Boom. Boom, baby. Okay. I just thought that this would be appropriate for where we are. I mean, this is sound teaching. And the 7 principles, well, we all know they work. They really do. I'm guilty of the fact that, I became, again, you become lackadaisical, you're going to sometimes, suffer the causation, right? The effects. I love that. So I want to be a causer and I want to be a mover. I like that. It tells me that no matter, even if I'm dealing with prophecy, that it doesn't have to directly affect me. I love the fact of the different planes. And then when you begin to see that everything, love, hate is the same thing, good, evil, the same thing. It creates a balance. What's happening in the chat room? You put it out there. It was reflected back at you, movers and shakers. I love that monkey experiment. Yeah. That is our superpower. I'd agree with that. Yeah. Sounds like solid read there. Yeah, Paul Joe, it is. It's taking our vitamins. That's what it is. We got this thing going. Okay. And it's true. Our study of angels. I mean, it's the things that really count. They add to this. The paperwork I got around here, the books. Yeah. And it's wonderful. It's kind of like going and visiting good friends. IN-SPIRIT says, you're spelling what you speak while speaking what you spell. Exactly. That's how it works. And it is speaking spells, That's why they call it spelling, isn't it? Love it. What else is going on? Well, y'all are more than welcome. This is good stuff. I just love it. I mean, read Michael A. Quintus's book. Yes, there you go. Another good one. John would be blind considered. I don't know what that is, Joyce. I'm on the hamster wheel, not obviously going fast enough. Hey, Grandpa Brian, what's up? Good to see you, my brother. Thank you, Teresa. Yeah, it resonates with me big time as well. Well, Emerald, we cook well here. A lot of cooks here. I mean, obviously, we spent 5 minutes talking about food. But yeah, this is knowing self-balance and equilibrium. Yes, absolutely. It is a fact. Saw a man chef. Thank you, Nina. I think Nina has this show. Is it right after mine, or is it later this? Sometimes I get lost in that. Nip. I mean, all right, folks. This has been fun. I have had a great day. I love these one myself, and it's a good to review it. Yeah, I tell you, it is so true. It is so true. And we were talking about this, and I was led about this. It's really how we get rid of the cockroaches. I mean, how can self-doubt come to you in any level? Because doubt, if you take the Hermetic law, is the same as faith, just a different degree. Wow. So if doubt is speaking to me, isn't that in essence faith at the same time? It would seem like that, right? Hey, Susie Q, what's up? Good to see you. Hey, Trina. Always good to see you. And I know I said to you hi earlier. 1 p.m. Mountain. So it's an hour right after this. Okay. Yeah. Good stuff. All right, folks. Love the Soul Tribe. Love you all. I mean, it is an honor. It really is to be amongst such phenomenal people. It really is. Hey, David Barry. See, I know this. See, David, and it's good for us. Francis, you're welcome. Yeah, I think, I'm going to listen. It's something, by the way, I have this PDF if you want it. It's only 6 pages, and it's really good to, and this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to literally print the pages off again. And my wife knows what happens when I start putting things up. She's like, okay, yeah. What do you, we're about to learn something. And so this is where I'm going to go with it. All right, everyone, have yourselves party on. Excellent show. Well, thank you. Thank you, Elder Bear. Appreciate it. Much love to you. It's been a pleasure. Tanya, good to see you as well. Lost in Space, much love to you, brother, all the way around. Yeah, because I'm going to literally print it off. I mean, I'm going to do this. I needed this, and this was the medicine that I was needing. My spirit is rejoicing, and watch out, I'm back in the ring. Sometimes when you're going 16 rounds, in about the 8th, 9th, 10th round, man, it gets really tough. And then if you got the fire inside, it suddenly gets relit. And then, I mean, watch out, man. You're going to just start, you know what I'm talking about. So, all right. Much love to everyone.